Welcome back to the channel. I'm here in the City of London at the new Cigar store, and I'm here with the one and only Mr. Mitchell Orchant. Thank you so much for inviting me down to your new store over here. It's in the City of London. I mean, is this the only cigar store in this area with a lounge?
That I know of, yes. I think there are maybe some terraces around, but I don't know the City of London at all. All I knew was there was a gap in the market for a specialist store, and our more recent concept of the Cigars by Mitchell Orchant stores. So rather than a Termo's traditional tobacconist, we thought we're going to find the right location. It was actually our bank manager that said, you've got to be in Leadenhall Market. So we found this lovely premises, which was a bit of a bombed out shell condition, used to be a bookmaker's rather, Betfred. And
of all places,
bit of a gamble for me. Yeah. So we thought this is perfect. We're in Lime Street, right on the side of Leadenhall Market, heart of the city. Our accountants are just down the road, easy for our bank managers to come in and have a smoke. And we've got, of course, a huge database of clients in the city. So now we've given them a more local place to come, get some advice, sample cigars, and find a huge range of cigars, rather than having to go over to the West End where they were visiting us at Termo's or at C.Gars St James's.
Which is quite a trek. I mean, it's what, 45 minutes if you've got peak hour traffic, and a lot of people, they don't want to make their journey, do they? So they want to...
Well, they do.
Oh, they do. Of course they do. Yeah, of course they do.
They do for our cigars.
They'll still make the journey, but I guess if it's closer, they're obviously going to come to this location. And now you've presented them a store in the City of London. And sorry, let me just move my chair back.
It was squeaking this one.
It was squeaking, wasn't it? But now you've got a store here in essentially the heart of London, and I mean, the store's beautiful. You've got the view outside is incredible. You've got beautiful buildings around you. You've got lots of different, food locations, and it's a bit of a tourist area as well, isn't it? I mean, the amount of tourists I was just walking around seeing it. It's so busy here.
I think it's more the financial district. I mean, I'm still learning about the location. Nice you've seen tourists. We generally see a lot of tourists in the West End. But the city, is the banks, the insurance companies, accountants, lawyers, they seem to be all around this area.
They're all scattered around, aren't they?
Well, from first indications of people using the sampling lounge and coming in buying whiskey and asking for advice on cigars and whiskey and so on, it's a lot of the guys in the financial sector. So, but we're still learning about the location. This is only day 4 we've been open.
Yeah, it's all pretty so fresh. New as well. Yeah,
this signage only just got completed as I was walking in. There was whiskey and cigars.
This morning, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yes. That's amazing. How many stores is it now?
I tried to have a count up actually the other day. I think this is number 25.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's either 25 or 26. We've kind of lost count now.
You've kind of lost count. That's a good problem to have.
So I'm not sure if we included the store in Aberlour that we've just opened in the Mash Tun Hotel, but that has a cigar and whiskey store as well.
It does, doesn't it? But in Scotland, of course, you've got different sampling rules. So is it sampling outside, or you've got a cigar terrace there?
Well, in England, we have the sampling exemption. So as you know, customers can come in, select a cigar, sample it, decide do they like that, do they want to purchase more, something different, or sample another cigar. In Scotland, there is no sampling exemption at all. So essentially, you can only smoke outside or in your own home. And what we've done at the Mash Tun Hotel and restaurant is we have an outside terrace. So when the weather's good, which fortunately it is pretty decent a few months a year in Aberlour, you can sample in the sunshine, and when the weather's not so good or in the evenings, we've built a most beautiful pavilion that can comfortably seat 14 people outside. It's covered, it's heated, but it's legal because it's 50% open.
Oh, fantastic. So you have got an area where you can sample smoke cigars.
Very
so over there, it's not a sampling.
That's
you can
exactly
actually
right.
smoke cigars there.
Smoke them.
Fantastic.
You can enjoy them.
You can enjoy them, yeah, because we're not enjoying them right now.
Exactly. Well, I'm enjoying this Romeo. It's just a little Petit Royale.
Petit Royale. This is lovely.
You like it?
I do like it.
It's got a nice balanced blend, hasn't it?
I've had them before, but I've never really paid too much attention to it. But now that I'm sampling it now, it's actually just caught my attention. I took the first few puffs and I was like, actually, this is really good.
For a small format, it's actually surprisingly complex. It's got a lot going on in the blend.
As a company now, you've expanded massively, especially over the last few years. Because when we first spoke, we talked way back when, in 2020?
I think that's when it was, yeah.
Yeah, that's when you first opened the St. James store.
Oh, wow, okay, so that was a while back. So, yeah, we've been hopping around, expanding all over the show. So we've got La Casa del Habano in Basel,
yes.
La Casa del Habano in Tenerife.
Yep.
My partner Frederick found that fabulous location, and it's the first La Casa in Spanish territory as such, as I understand.
Yes.
And it's a fabulous place. We absolutely love it there. Then we've expanded Basel by taking the store next door. Again, my partners Frederick and Dominique, that was their project. They've made the most incredible place out of it. It's really something special with the cigar lounge, whereas Tenerife has a cigar terrace outside,
yes.
which is beautiful.
Well, it's Tenerife, I mean.
Well, Tenerife, sunshine all year round. Then we opened in Leeds. That was another C.Gars store.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for the suggestion. You've got that right, because that is a very, very busy location. Very quaint, 3 floors.
Yes, in a beautiful location.
Whiskey sampling
yes.
floor, ground floor retail, cigar sampling second floor. So that's very lovely. And then, of course, we expanded our brands, the exclusive brands that we represent, which is a very exciting project for us, because we've now opened our brands to the cigar trade in the UK. So rather than keeping them all for ourselves, we decided that now's the right time to make these brands available. And of course, we have some of the best brands, because we represent Arturo Fuente in the UK, which is probably the most super premium, amazing New World cigar that's ever existed as far as we're concerned. We're super proud. I mean, that Carlito was over here, Jeremiah was over here recently.
Yes.
He did the interview, which was great fun. So that's open and available to the trade, because we're very much supportive of the UK cigar trade, so much so that we even took Fuente off our website, so we would be in a non-compete situation with the retail trade.
Yeah.
So everyone can now buy Fuente from their favourite cigar specialist, whether it's us or any of the other guys, big or small, around the country. And then our other, well, we've got lots of other brands. Regis, we represent. We love Regis from Nicaragua. Now they're blending with our Peruvian tobacco as well, the Siri Limitada, which has been a runaway success, fabulous cigars. And we have Aladino from Honduras, beautiful, an amazing cigars. Boutique cigar from JRE, fabulous family, the Aroa family, legendary in the cigar business. So we're their exclusive distributor and importer in the UK. Again, that's very, very popular. We've done tastings together, Usman, that, which have been.
You're on kind of a warpath, though. It seems like. I mean, you've kind of, you've kind of swept across the country. You've opened up stores in, as you said, Leeds. Now you've got a whole bunch of stores, effectively stretching all the way through the country.
Yeah.
You're in Scotland as well. I mean, it feels like you're trying to get a store in absolutely every single city and maybe every single borough in London. I mean, is that the plan?
Well, we're planting flags, we're planting the C.Gars or Termos flag all over the UK, in every major city over the next 5 years. And in some cities, I think we might end up with more than one store in strategic locations. So we're sort of going back to the days where you could go to any major city in the UK in the 50s, 60s, probably up to the early 70s, and find 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 specialist tobacconists, but there's been such an explosion in the tobacco trade over the last, I suppose, 5 to 10 years. Pipe smoking gone up dramatically, the range of pipe tobaccos ever changing, cigar smoking and the range of cigars, from Cuban cigars to New World cigars.
So do you think that we're kind of at that stage when we were way back in the days when you could have a store virtually around every corner? I mean, do you think
we're not quite there, but it's a big turnaround over the last few years. I think the cigar and pipe smoker, they want to go into a specialist store, they want to see a range, they want to feel, touch, smell, sample, enjoy the experience, and not just buy from us or others online. Certainly that's still the bulk of our business, but it's more experiential since COVID. I think people want to get out there, meet people. We have, I don't know how many tasting events a year, 300 tasting events plus.
It's a lot.
You can add another 22 for the city.
Best as well,
Thank you. They're all massively sold out events. So I think the market is changing very much for the better. It's bigger, it's better, it's thriving. You've got a lot of new guys coming into the trade, opening small cigar stores, small lounge areas, making a little local scene, and I think it's great. I think it's great for the UK cigar trade.
So do you think the trend is still going up? I mean,
100%.
one of the crazy things that we noticed is that when the price increase happened with Cubans, a lot of people were speculating, oh, Cubans made a mistake. You know, Cohibas, who's going to pay £100 for a Robusto? Everyone thought that, right?
Not
Initially.
me.
No, I know you didn't.
Not
But
me.
the crazy thing that happened was that the price went up, but the demand went up even higher. Because it was like you had this crazy... it was almost like people with money now found a cigar that they actually wanted to buy because it was priced at a level that they wanted to pay.
I think we call that reassuringly expensive.
Yes.
As opposed to purely aspirational. And, you know, I'm very much a believer that there is a cigar and the correct price cigar for every cigar smoker, whether you've got £5 or you've got £500.
I agree.
You know, depends what suits your budget. I can select, or my specialist can select, the perfect cigar for you. So I'm sort of an anti-snob where cigar smoking sort of is concerned. Actually, where everything is concerned, I'm an anti-snob. If it's good, it's good. It's not about the price.
No, I agree. I agree.
The market in the UK is not price sensitive. And, you know, I always thought Cohibas were underpriced. I thought Trinidads were underpriced. They are the Rolls Royce of brands, you know, in the Habanos portfolio, an amazing portfolio by Habanos. And, you know, I think they did the right thing because it's a luxury product. And in the same way as you buy a Chanel or Hermes bag in London, Paris, New York, the price is more or less the same, up, down 10% for a bit of fluctuation or whatever. I always thought it should be the same for Cohiba and Trinidad particularly, because it's a luxury product. So why could you buy it for half the price in Andorra, Gibraltar, Spain in comparison to the UK market?
It doesn't make sense.
It didn't make sense to me.
So unifying the price was actually a smart move.
I think so. And well, it seems to have worked well for the UK market for sure. I don't know about the rest of the world. I think it's probably worked. I think, if I understand correctly, the prices are pitched to Hong Kong.
Yes.
Which made sense because their prices are more or less the same as the UK. So far, so good.
Just a little bit higher. Just a little bit higher.
In the UK?
In Hong Kong.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, fine. I don't know. But I think it was sensible. I think most things that Habanos do, you know, marketing-wise, actually work out to be very sensible.
But one of the things that's done is it's kind of like given some breathing space for the whole industry. So Cohiba and Trinidad, they've gone off to, you know, they've increased in price significantly. But what that's done is just given like a massive breathing room to like a lot of New World cigars. And as much as I was talking to Scott and we were discussing how the Cuban price increase, could that impact cigars from the New World? And he said, you know, he was a little vague on that point because obviously he has to. I mean, he can't really promise anything from one side to another. But he hinted that that's just kind of given a little breathing space where they can push the price up a little bit as well. And that has obviously helped retailers. And then obviously that extra income coming to the retailers is obviously helping the whole industry. Because now we've got stores everywhere thanks to, you know, merchants such as yourself. So do you think that price increase has given that extra little breathing room as well? Do you think that it just kind of allowed the industry to kind of just expand a little bit more?
I think our original thoughts were it may push more volume over to New World, and it may have sped up the process of the balance between New World and Cuban cigars going more towards 50-50. But the reality is, I don't know, as a country, for the country as a whole, I know as C.Gars is the biggest cigar specialist in the UK, it actually hasn't made any difference. All that's happened is volumes have grown for Cuban cigars and for New World cigars. The split remains the same. It's bubbling between 30 and 35% New World, which is still huge. And I still predict that in the next 5 years, it will probably go closer to 50-50. But so far, the split hasn't changed because of the price increase. There's been zero effect.
That's interesting, right?
It is interesting.
I mean, why do you think that is?
And I know a lot of clients actually have said, hey, you know, Cubans are just too expensive for me now. I'm going to switch to New World. And some have, and some then switch back to Cubans because it's just not for them. You know, Diet Coke, Diet 7-Up, one you like, one's okay. So, no, we'll have to see how it goes over the next year. But so far, there's been no change.
Do you have, I mean, would you speculate on why there's been no change? I mean, such a massive impact, something, because it
might be because what you said, prices on New World also went up a bit.
Yeah.
So the differential isn't that huge. So if you get a premium New World Robusto size cigar and a premium, or mid-premium Havana cigar, say a Partagas D4 Epicure 2, there's not really such a huge price differential between
depending
them.
on the brand, absolutely.
Absolutely, but if you're talking similar brands, you take a Davidoff, you take a Partagas, is there that much difference? Probably not, because the excise duty is the same, give or take.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah, there's not a massive difference. So maybe that's equalised it a bit. I don't know.
You've got all these new stores. Going back to the stores that you've opened up, I mean, it must be a proud feeling to be able to go across the country and have Cigars and Termo stores. But the question I want to ask is, you mentioned earlier, you started off making Termos as the storefront, right? You had your online, which was Cigars. Termos was entirely your, brick and mortar kind of thing.
Absolutely.
You've changed that now.
Yes.
So now, I think every new store has been a Cigar store. The first one was St. James. Then you made the Leeds one, that is a Cigars.
Yes.
And now you've got Cigars in the city.
Yes.
Is there a reason why you've kind of moved away from Termos and you've pitched it more towards Cigars?
It's a different vibe. Termos is a more traditional tobacconist. It's more geared towards pipe tobaccos, rolling tobaccos, products like that, and cigars.
Right.
Whereas Cigar stores are literally split 50% premium spirits, 50% or 45% cigars, and then a comprehensive range of pipe tobaccos.
So you're focusing more on cigars and spirits.
It's a different vibe.
Stores.
It's definitely more geared towards premium spirits and premium cigars.
That makes sense, because if you go to somewhere like Knutsford or Chester, and
Nuts is the La Casa del Habano.
It is, of course it is. If you go to Chester, for example, who's run by Sarah, right?
Sarah, yeah.
Yes, and you go there. There's a huge selection of pipes and pipe tobaccos as well. So
in the Termos store.
In the Termos store,
and next
not
door
La Casa,
is the La Casa.
There is, yes. It's great, because you kind of walk around that store. You start off on one end, and you've got this beautiful architectural masterpiece of these archways, and you're walking through. You walk past the spirits. You go through. You've got this little sampling area with a little bar.
Yep.
And then you've got the La Casa on one side, and you've got the Termos or the pipe tobacco and the New World cigars on the other side.
Yep.
And it's great. I love that place, because you've got like such a split, but it works.
It works really well. You've got the traditional tobacconist, then you've got the La Casa del Habano, you've got the whiskey shop, and in fact we're rebuilding the lounge to make a far larger sampling lounge.
Really?
Yeah, that project starts in August. That's tripped into this schedule just after Edinburgh opens up. So that's our next major opening, and after Edinburgh, new sampling lounge at the La Casa in Chester.
In Chester?
Yeah.
I know you can't talk about future projects, especially if they haven't been confirmed or anything like that, but just out of curiosity, what are the main cities? I mean, is Manchester on the target, on the list at all? Is Birmingham?
All the cities.
All the cities. So you want to be in every single city?
Yeah, certainly we're looking at Birmingham and Manchester at the moment, because we feel they are sort of undersupplied, and we have a very huge mail order database in those cities. So I think it's very likely at some stage we'll open up, next in the programme, Birmingham and Manchester. But remember, I'm the tortoise, I'm not the hare. I've been doing this for, 26 years full-time coming up, 30 years, including a bit of part-time before. I'm the tortoise. I'm just, tortoising my way along, and we take a new place and we digest it into the machine that is Cigars, and once we feel it's digested, we look for the next place. So we might not do anything for a year, and then we might do 4 openings in a year. We just take our time. We're not in a race, we're not in a hurry. We're only in a hurry to get it right. Every place has to be the right ambience, decor, facility, amenity for the location, for the client database, for the local area. If we can find it, we do it. If not, we keep looking. We're not in a race, just in a race to get everything perfect.
One of the things I've noticed is virtually every single store that you have a sampling lounge in them. And this is something which I find it's almost like a requirement. It is a requirement, essentially, from your standpoint.
It has to have sampling.
It has to have a sampling.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that about Cigars and Termos. Every single store you go to, there's a place where you can sample cigars. Because it's part of the experience. The last thing I want to do is go to a place, buy a cigar and then try and look for a spot where I can enjoy the cigar, because it's just not, you're kind of running around like, where can I go and sample cigar? What I want to ask is, your online sales, is it still as huge as it is, where the majority of your sales, the majority of the revenue are from the online? If that's the case, I know you moved into brick and mortar because when everyone was going online, you kind of shifted and you went to brick and mortar because you wanted to kind of, you're the anti-trend effect.
Absolutely, I always do the opposite. Absolutely.
But how is that paying off in, like, from the long-term perspective? Is it more of the is it the sales which are great from the stores, or is it more of a marketing aspect? I mean, is it just a presence?
It's a really good question. It's a bit of everything. There's no clear answer. Our online is huge. It will always be the bulk of our business. But each of our shops are very successful individually.
Yeah.
And as you rightly say, we've got sampling areas or lounges, comfortable sampling areas in every store. Even our tiny Mayfair store has 3 to 5 seats where you can comfortably sample. And of course it's booked.
I've done the 5-seat sample
and
there.
it's booked all day, literally morning till night. People love it there. It's actually probably our most successful shop. But every store has it, because most cigar smokers, they want to try something. They want to try something new. Only way they're going to know if they're going to buy a box is buy a single, sit down, have a coffee, have a glass of water, sample that cigar, and then they can make that considered purchase decision. So yeah, you're right, we have to have sampling lounges everywhere. And if we're in Scotland, we have to have an outside comfortable sampling area that's sheltered, heated, comfortable, etc. So I'm very much a supporter of bricks and mortar in the UK and generally for the cigar trade. I think it's good because rather than just internet, you can give your customers the option. Come in the store, sample a cigar, order online, order in store. The prices are all the same. We don't differentiate at all. We're just giving the customer choice. So we have a whole, tech team, marketing team that give me tons of stats 24 hours a day, drive me crazy. But it's very interesting statistics. The majority of our retail customers also buy online from us.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, there's a complete crossover because you can't always make it to your cigar store, but you always need a cigar.
I've actually changed the way I buy cigars.
You buy more in store now?
I haven't bought online in a while.
Oh yeah, that's a COVID thing.
Yeah, it's been so much. As soon as the store in Leeds opened, I mean, it's a stone's throw away. So I take a little train, go straight into Leeds, and I'm right there.
Yep.
And it's just quicker, in a way, because if I buy a cigar online, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's going to be posted, and then I'll get an email saying dispatch, and then it's like, oh yeah, it's going to be a couple of days. And
there's another difference. Sorry to interrupt.
Go on,
there's another difference. If you're buying online, you're looking around our list of however many brands and vitolas we're selling. But if you come in store, it's all in front of you. You're surrounded by a wall or a walk-in humidor.
About that.
And you've got personal advice right there and then. Now you get a lot of personal advice from us online. We're dealing with about 4,000 emails a day. People asking for recommendations,
but
advice.
There's just something so wonderful about
experience.
Oh my God, just going into a humidor, walk-in humidors especially, like the one that you've got over here in the city, the one that you've got in St. James, the one that you've got in Mayfair. I don't know how you managed to build a walk-in humidor in Mayfair.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But you did, yeah, that was nuts.
Or how about Liverpool? The cigar room. Got to be the biggest cigar humidor in the UK by a mile.
But that experience, as much as I love buying cigars online, because you've got a wider selection. There's no way to beat that selection.
No,
right?
No way.
You can go online and you've got virtually everything there.
14,000 products.
Yeah, so no store can compete with the online variety. And I appreciate that, and it's a great thing to have. But the online experience just doesn't beat the in-store, seeing the cigars right there. I love that.
It's different, but if you're in a location in the UK where there is no cigar specialist, whether it's ours or somebody else's, what are you going to do? Got to buy online. There's no choice. Or you can travel. A lot of our clients do travel. I have a lot of clients who tell me they've been to every location of ours. Some that have been to every location in every country we're in.
Really?
I swear to you. We should do a collector card like
You should do a collector card. Eventually you have so many stores that it's going to be unfeasible or infeasible to go to every single location.
Absolutely.
But someone's going to have to do it. But do you find that because of the fact that you are opening all these stores in all these different locations, which is brilliant,
Thank you.
I love that, is the trend shifting a little more towards retail, towards like brick and mortars, or are you still seeing that? I mean, it might be a small percentage, but has there been any change at all?
I'd love to say yes, it's shifting, but the reality is it's the same as the New World and Cuban cigar scenario. It's not shifting, it's growing. It's just growing.
So each side is growing.
Each side is growing.
So the whole industry is growing.
Yes.
So the whole industry is growing, and then that's what.
It's fascinating, I know, but it's true.
Yeah. So effectively, we're in a state. We're at a stage at the moment where we are effectively going through a cigar boom.
We are,
and it's a massive boom.
And it's a younger generation, isn't it? It's really 24 to 34-year-old demographic. So very much new cigar smokers, people that have never smoked cigarettes. So it's not people trying to transfer. It's just people trying a gentleman's hobby, or a lot of ladies smoking cigars as well these days.
Absolutely.
There's even an international women's cigar club, Sarah Saunders, amazing.
Yeah, she's lovely.
She's lovely, and she's doing a great job. You know, she's getting the word out there that it's okay, girls can smoke cigars too, and
Absolutely.
they are, and there's more all the time. So yeah, it's just the market is generally growing. And it is a cigar boom like I've never seen before, and I've been in the business a long time. You know, I saw the 90s boom, but
which is huge as well.
It was huge, but I'd never seen anything like this before.
So this is like the biggest boom.
Yeah, this is incredible.
How would you, if the market slows down, potentially, because you know we've got like a lot of things going on with interest rates and so on and so forth. How will you? I mean, do you have any plans to kind of protect the company and protect yourself against a dip or against a potential slowdown in the market overall?
Our marketing department advised me that there is no indications of any slowdown or dip now or in the near future, despite the quite serious economic situation the UK is in. We've found historically in times of recession people drink and smoke more, and our sales have always gone up. It's a comfort aspect. Instead of going out for £100 meal, you're going to buy a bottle of £50 cigar malt or whatever whiskey, and you're going to buy a few cigars, and you're going to enjoy that. It's going to last a lot longer than an hour and a half in whatever restaurant.
That makes sense, because we saw that during COVID as well.
Yeah.
When during COVID, of course, a lot of people lost about, on average, 20% of their income, but they still purchased more cigars.
A lot more.
They purchased more whiskey.
A lot more.
And yeah, I mean, we saw the numbers. It was insane. I mean, the suppliers just kind of effectively ran out, and you know, you had to like almost ration cigars because people were buying so many of them.
Literally, yeah.
How are we looking on supplies for the future, though?
Looking good, looking fine. New World nice and steady. Cuban cigar supply improving. Still a lot of line stock outs.
Yeah.
But we've got good range representation. We've got good depth of stock. We always protected ourselves from the market fluctuations by holding huge stock. So we ironed out most of the flat spots. There's always going to be bits and pieces not available. It's not an easy situation for Cuba economically at this time, but the industry is in pretty decent, reasonable shape. They're addressing their issues, as I understand, and we've seen recently supply has improved in the UK, both in terms of range and depth of supply. So I'm not concerned about supply at all.
In terms of supply and the range of cigars that we've got available in the country now, we've got, in fact, it feels like we've got a brand new cigar hitting the market virtually every month.
Yes, a little bit crowded.
It's getting a little bit crowded, but within that crowd, we've got a few gems that have hit the market. And C.Gars is now a distributor, effectively, isn't it? I mean, you're no longer
we're a manufacturer, importer, and distributor.
You're a manufacturer, importer, and distributor. You've kind of gone the whole hog, haven't you?
Yes.
So, what's it like being a distributor now? I mean, you're effectively working with all the other retailers.
Absolutely, our competitors, although we see them as colleagues more than competitors, because we're just trying to grow the market generally in the UK, because if it's good for us and it's good for everybody, everybody wins. So yeah, as I said earlier, we've opened up all our brands, even our more budget brands, Mitchellero, Inca Secret Blend, Mitchellero being the fastest selling New World and the biggest selling New World brand that we have.
Yeah, you're in the States as well with Mitchellero.
We're in the States, yes. Very successful there. I blended the cigar with Akil from Regius, who did an amazing job with me on that. And yeah, that is our fastest selling and biggest selling brand of New World cigars we've ever had. So we have a Nicaraguan version, which we introduced about a year and a half ago, very successful. And now we have a Peruvian version, which is actually a blend of Nicaraguan and Peruvian tobacco, and it is incredible. We literally cannot import them fast enough. And going back to what you asked, we've opened that brand up as well to the trade. So all of our brands, from Fuente to Regius to Aladino, Michelero, Inca, all available to the trade. And a lot of the astute cigar specialists out there, a lot of the new guys in the trade, some of the old guys, they're buying some or all of the ranges. So it's just increasing the whole brand awareness and availability within the market.
So two things I want to mention. First thing is, it feels like in the cigar industry, it's a strange industry. It's a strange industry because you've got all these competitors, or potentially competitors, but they're not competitors. You're working together. As you said, they're colleagues.
Very, very much so.
Isn't that like, doesn't that make this industry the best industry? Like, your competitors are your colleagues. You work together.
It's got a lot better. It never used to be like that. When I started, it wasn't like that.
Was it quite cutthroat when you first started?
It was cold. It was not really...
So how did you crack that? You know, what did you do?
Well, I mean, I was very lucky.
I guess it's the whole industry that did something, but you know...
I mean, it's a long story, but try and make it short. It was a cold industry. A lot of people didn't like me when I got in the trade because I was seen as a price cutter and, you know, a new guy on the internet, and everyone was sort of afraid and didn't want me in the business. But I had a couple of really good friends in the trade who were very good to me and helped me. There was James Barber, Peter Lloyd, both first-class retailers. I mean, first class, and we got on well. We still get on very well. They need something, they buy from me, I buy from them, whatever. And as the years have gone on, a lot of people have left the business, the old school. A lot of people have come into business, the new school. Some have sort of changed attitudes, and I think generally, actually, everybody gets on really well with everybody.
They do.
Certainly in St James's, the 4 stores in St
Yeah,
James's,
exactly.
we all send clients to each other, stocks to each other. You know, really, really nice. But also around the country, you know, you can see it from our trade show.
Yes.
Everyone gets on well. We have a big industry dinner. We had a big industry weekend. Everyone's chatting and exchanging ideas and having interviews, and that's all pretty cool. And then yesterday we had our industry lunch, the tobacco trades lunch.
That's a long lunch.
Lord's, it was a long lunch.
That's a long lunch.
And again, you know, that's tons of retailers, and everybody's getting on, everybody's doing business. Hopefully everybody's doing good business individually and together.
Yeah, I mean, the vibe in the cigar industry, especially,
it's quite vibrant now, isn't it?
It's lovely, isn't it? Like whenever you go to any other retailers or any other stores or online, and you meet all these people, everyone's friendly, everyone's happy, everyone's like welcoming. And
even at our tasting events, it's not unusual for us to have 2 brands
presenting. Yeah.
So you know, that's good. I think even the suppliers seem to all be getting on very nicely with each other. You don't find one supplier comes in, you know, a New World supplier, and he's dissing Cuban cigars. Quite the opposite. Sometimes they talk a little bit about Cuban cigars and they're great, and you know, here's our cigars and they're great. So it's become a very nice industry as I've got older and become an old boy in the industry almost.
That must feel good though. You know, you've kind of you've worked in this industry, you've seen when it was really cold, and now it's growing into something where...
Well, I shook it up, you know. I shook it up. I was the game changer for the industry on so many levels. Not saying to big myself up, but I think I really did change the face of the industry in the UK.
You absolutely
and I
did.
think I changed it for the better for the consumer, which was always the angle that I was coming from. I wanted the consumer to get the best deal. I wanted them to get the best range, the best service, the best conditioned cigars, the best everything that we could offer.
You may be surprised to know, I mean, you probably know this, but many of the retailers that you know, popular retailers, they only recently started focusing on their online sales.
Well,
when I say recently, I'm talking like since COVID, because they had to.
Yeah.
And it's crazy if you think about it. Like, you were online in the 90s when you had dial-up.
Yeah, 1993, the first website
we could
went
just
up.
about load a page in 10 minutes. And you were doing online then, and a lot of the retailers are getting into online now. When, I mean, they're still doing well. And, it's, as I say, rising tide, with all ships and so on. But it's, when you say that you did, you shook up the industry, you absolutely did. Because you were one of the very few people, if not the only person, who actually made online into a proper thing and made it successful.
Yep.
And now you're able to produce your own cigars. You're able to distribute cigars across the country and in the States and in Europe. But the majority of the cigars that you're distributing, you tend to lean towards more milder cigars.
Correct.
You tend to lean towards cigars that are accessible to everyone.
Correct.
Do you have any plans to produce cigars that are a little bit stronger, or maybe a little bit more premium? Is that something
we're playing? Well, more premium, no, because we have Fuente, and we're very proud to have them.
Of course,
in our stable, and they are, as good as it gets as far as I'm concerned. In terms of stronger blends, so we have Drew Estate.
Yes.
So they are way up on the scale and the strength scale, and we are playing with blends at the moment, and we are introducing, if I can balance the blend, an Inca Fuerte line, which is dramatically stronger because I blended it with 2 leaves of Ligero, which is sort of unheard of. But so if it was
it's rare.
Yeah, I mean, if it was with any other tobacco growing region, I'd do 1 leaf, maybe 1.5 maximum. But because the characteristic of Peruvian tobacco is a sweet characteristic, to scale up on the strength, you really have to scale up on the quantity of the leaf. So it needs 2 leaves, and the samples that I've smoked are incredible. They are literally incredible because you get strength without aggression. You get strength without bitterness. There's no bite, there's no harshness at all. So you are getting the Inca Secret blend flavor. It's just more intense. So
like an
it's fascinating.
Cigar that you can smoke at the end of the day.
Totally. But it's got an intensity without aggression, and that is our second biggest selling brand of New World cigars. So I think the addition of this line extension, if you like, for the Fuerte, the strong line extension in the range, I think it's going to be very, very well received because it gives it a different dimension.
You've got so much going on now. The last time we spoke, you had, relatively speaking, the business was a lot smaller than it is now. I mean, it wasn't small, but relatively speaking, it's a lot smaller. It was a lot smaller than it is now, and you've grown massively. Like I said, it looks like you're on a warpath. You're just kind of, going around planting flags, as you say, in virtually every city. You're producing cigars, you're distributing cigars, you're importing cigars. And this is a bit of a vague question, and I apologize for the fact that it is a vague question, but I'm hoping that you will provide some detail. How on earth do you even manage? How do you manage like such a huge growing business? And it's not growing slowly. I know you say that you're the tortoise and you take things slowly, but you might have been doing that a few years ago. But now it's like everything's kind of in place, and you're just kind of going for it, and the speed is intense. So how do you manage that?
I surround myself with the best people in the business. My partner Ron manages the spirit side of the business. My partner Laura is the IT whiz, the marketing whiz. She's a genius. She's been with me since day one. She's incredible. My partners Frederick and Dominique look after Belgium. They certainly do a lot more work than me in Tenerife and Basel. They're just amazing, the amount of work they soak up. Our CFO is a financial genius, taking away all the administrative headaches from us in operations. My retail operations directors, and products directors, Paul and Sarah, they have their departments. So I'm surrounded myself with a highly skilled team who I've developed, who are developing and constantly developing their expertise and their skills. So it's not about me. I do a lot of the strategy, I do a lot of the PR, I do the blending, I do the brands, I select the products. So I do my thing, but I'm surrounded by a lot of very, very clever and very, very hard-working people. My GM, Michelle, we should have mentioned her as well, runs the whole bloody business. Unbelievable. Been with me since the start as well.
She has, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's just works tirelessly.
How do you even find so many good people? How on earth have you managed that? I mean,
I've been very, very lucky. Been very, a lot of people that were friends of mine joined me in business.
You do like hiring friends, don't you?
I do. I absolutely do. I surround myself with good people, happy people, positive people, highly intelligent people, and we're just an unbeatable team. We gel together. We love working together. We enjoy the challenge. We're very focused. Yeah, that's all I can tell you, Usman.
I guess, you know, if when you're running a business this big, you need to have good people that are going to be able to do their jobs effectively.
Absolutely.
And I think in a lot of cases, when it comes to companies, when they grow to a certain size, they become, not necessarily in every industry, but in some industries, they become faceless organizations.
Yeah. We don't want to be that.
No.
We keep it personal.
Yes.
It's not easy, but we do.
But I think people forget that the business isn't this brand, this faceless thing. It's real people that are doing a lot of hard work on a regular basis. And as you listed off all the names, there are a lot of incredibly talented people behind the brand of Cigar.
I'll say.
So I guess when you're running such a huge organization and you're growing so fast, having that help, it must take off a lot of pressure from your shoulders.
Yes and no. I keep the pressure on my shoulders. And
is that how you kind of function? Do you need like a little bit of pressure?
Type A, you know. I'm always looking for the next move. You know, whether it's how do we do something better, where do we do something better, how do we expand, where do we expand, what does the consumer need, how can we provide for their needs. So yeah, I don't think we'll ever change. I don't think I'll change individually. I don't think we'll change as a team. We're just doing our thing. You know, we're spreading the love of premium spirits and premium cigars as best we can. Give a decent deal, give a great product, and give a great service. The best service that we can provide. That's really the ethos of our business. It never changed. We keep it personal. We know our customers in store, online, as much as we possibly can, and we really try and take care of them.
Last few points I want to cover, if you don't mind. England, Scotland, and well, the UK. You're effectively taking over the country in essence. You know, you've got stores, and you're going to have stores, as you mentioned, potentially in Manchester, potentially in Birmingham as well. So you're going to cover effectively all the major cities. You've got stores across Europe as well, and I'm assuming that you're going to continue expanding across Europe as well. Are there any other locations that you're going to be looking at? Is the Middle East a viable option? Is China a potential? Is the States a potential? I mean,
it's a big world.
It's a big world, and the cigar industry is growing everywhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential out there. You know, we're obviously now we're a public company, a small public company, and we have a board of directors, and we discuss things, and lots of territories come up for discussion repeatedly. And if the right opportunities present themselves, we may well move into different continents. But we're not going to spread ourselves thin management-wise. We don't want to compromise on quality. So, we'll just continue tortoising our way, really and truly, rather than, we don't want to bloat up this huge business and make it crazy with a splodge of Cigars here and a splodge of La Casa del Tobacco there. We're doing the right moves in the right locations at the right time, not in any hurry. The bottom line is we're still cigar and whiskey enthusiasts, creating the right openings, the right locations at the right time. So I wouldn't rule out in sort of vague answer to your question. I wouldn't rule out the Middle East or Asia or the USA, and it's certainly on the table, currently being discussed. But I can't really tell you any more than that.
That's fine.
Otherwise I have to kill you.
So in essence, although it may seem like you're moving quickly and you may seem like you're growing fast, relative to what you could be doing, as you said, you could just bloat the whole company and grow everywhere.
Yeah, we're not about
you're actually being very careful and being very slow about it. So
it's still, at the end of the day, it's still a family business, you see.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean the majority shareholders. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So we drive the direction, and Frederick,
so you're
Dominic.
Still taking it very slow. I mean, it may seem quick on the ground, but
we're trying to be prudent. Yeah. And essentially, Dominic, Frederick, and myself, who run the business, we see it as very much as a family business, and we don't want to be too corporate, and we don't want to be too big that we lose that whole family business touch.
It feels like that whenever you come into one of the stores. It really does feel like a family business.
That's good to hear. Then we're doing something right.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks for visiting our new store.
Thank you for inviting me.
You'll be coming to Edinburgh next month.
I'm looking forward to. I mean, as usual, it's always a pleasure to see you. It's always a pleasure to share a cigar with you. And this store, it's lovely. I've thoroughly enjoyed visiting you, and I thoroughly enjoy having a cigar with you. So,
well, I hope you show some nice photos on your website.
Of course, absolutely. I'm looking forward to getting this article up as well. I'm getting this video up as well for our viewers. And yeah, again, I really appreciate you bringing me down here. Thank you.
Slange.
Thank you.